100 games, 88 goals. In the long, chaotic history of the Premier League, nobody has ever done this. Not Henry, not Agüero, not even Shearer. Erling Haaland needed just 100 matches to leave them all behind. And the strangest part? He made it look inevitable. From the moment he walked into Manchester City, defenders tried everything. They shoved him, wrestled him, mocked his awkward first touches, and still, he bulldozed through them, leaving bodies behind and records shattered. Critics called him a robot. Fans said he would struggle outside Germany. Instead, he turned England's toughest league into his own playground. So, how did Erling Haaland break the Premier League this quickly? Today, we trace the story of the striker who rewrote football's rules before he even reached 25. He arrived in May 2022. No chaos, no drama, just a medical, a release clause, and a number 9 shirt waiting. For £51 million from Borussia Dortmund, Manchester City had signed the most feared striker in Europe. City didn't usually play with a traditional forward. For years, Pep Guardiola relied on false nines, midfield rotations, and endless passing. It worked, titles stacked up, but critics kept saying the same thing. City lacked a pure finisher. Haaland was different. He didn't just join attacks, he lived inside the penalty box. Doubts came quickly. Could he handle the pace of England? Would his first touch slow City's rhythm? Was he just a Bundesliga striker? The questions didn't bother him. Inside that dressing room, the thinking was simple. If he got 10 chances in a game, how many would actually miss? From the moment he walked through the door, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a signing, it was the piece Guardiola had never had. And defenders across the league were about to discover the difference. People wondered if he could adapt. The answer came in weeks. In his very first Premier League games, Haaland looked unstoppable. A brace against West Ham, a hat-trick against Crystal Palace, then another hat-trick the following weekend. 3 games in, and he'd already scored more than some strikers manage in half a season. Commentators tried to find words. Was it power? Timing? Luck? The truth was simpler. Defenders couldn't read him. One ran tight and got spun. Another dropped off and still lost the race. Whichever option they chose, Haaland punished them. By the end of August, he had 9 goals in 5 matches. The so-called robot wasn't just adapting, he was tearing up records before he'd unpacked his bags. And inside stadiums across England, one thought started to spread. If this was just the beginning, how bad could it get for everyone else? They called him a robot. Headlines, memes, even rival fans, all repeating the same word. Haaland didn't celebrate with flair. He didn't dribble like Neymar. He didn't drop deep like Kane. He just kept appearing in the right place at the right second and scoring. To many, that felt mechanical, but watch closely, and it wasn't about programming. It was instinct. The way he peeled off defenders, the half-second delay before sprinting into space, the gamble that a cross would arrive, and the confidence that he would get there first. Yes, his first touch could be heavy. Yes, he sometimes looked awkward outside the box, but inside the penalty area, he was perfect chaos. Defenders knew exactly what was coming, they just couldn't stop it. Robot or not, Haaland was proving something scarier. He didn't need to play like anyone else to dominate. His debut Premier League season ended with 36 goals. Nobody had ever done that in a 38-game campaign. Mohamed Salah's 32 was gone. Even Shearer and Andy Cole, who once hit 34, had needed 42 games. But this wasn't just numbers on a page. The story lived in the matches. A hat-trick against Manchester United at the Etihad, tearing apart City's oldest rivals. A thunderous volley against Southampton that had Pep Guardiola covering his face in disbelief. Week after week, the goals arrived in different shapes, but with the same result, another record closer to dust. By April, commentators stopped asking if he could cope with England's defenders. The new question was harder. How long would it take him to own every record in sight? Europe took notice fast. This wasn't just an English problem anymore. In March 2023, he scored 5 against RB Leipzig in a Champions League knockout tie, the sort of haul you usually only see in video games. Bayern faced him next and found the same puzzle. If you track the run, he outmuscles you. If you protect the space, he still arrives first. Managers started adjusting entire game plans just to cut off the passes that feed him. Clips spread everywhere. Centre-backs glanced over shoulders before corners. Full-backs stopped overlapping because a single turnover meant a sprint they could not win. Haaland changed how backlines behaved. Even on quiet nights, his threat bent the pitch. And yet, the lesson from Europe matched the one England had already learned. You can limit touches, you can slow the supply. But if he gets even 2 clean looks at goal, the match starts to tilt, and the scoreboard tells the truth. The milestone came in August 2025, Haaland's 100th Premier League appearance. Some wondered if the occasion might weigh on him. Instead, he scored, again, number 88. The comparisons almost felt unfair. Alan Shearer needed 124 games to reach the same total. Sergio Agüero, Manchester City's own legend, needed 147. Thierry Henry, the icon of Arsenal's glory years, didn't even come close in his first century of matches. Haaland had left them all behind. It wasn't just the volume, it was the speed. 100 matches is barely 2.5 seasons. In that time, most strikers are still adapting, learning the league, waiting for form to settle. Haaland was rewriting the record books before he'd even turned 25. For defenders, the message was brutal. If this was his opening act, what would the next 100 games look like? Even with the records, the criticism never stopped. To some, he was still just a finisher. They pointed to his heavy first touch, his quiet spells when City dominated possession, the moments when his link-up play looked clumsy. Analysts debated whether he made City more predictable. Pundits asked if Guardiola had sacrificed fluidity for firepower. Rival fans clung to any weakness they could find, as if admitting the obvious, that he was unstoppable, would be too painful. But every doubt seemed to collapse under the weight of goals. Haaland wasn't a playmaker, and he didn't pretend to be. He wasn't there to knit triangles or drop into midfield. He was there to finish, and finishing, in football, decides everything. That was the paradox, labelled limited, yet breaking limits no one else had touched. Haaland is still only 25. That fact alone unsettles defenders and delights statisticians. If he stays in England for the next decade, Alan Shearer's all-time record of 260 Premier League goals could fall before Haaland turns 30. No one has ever been on that kind of pace. But numbers only tell half the story. The real question is what his presence does to the league itself. For years, the Premier League sold itself as the toughest competition in the world. Then came along a striker who made it look simple. 30 goals a season used to be a dream. Now, it feels like Haaland's baseline. Every era needs a figure who bends the rules. Cantona, Henry, Ronaldo. Haaland may already belong in that group. The difference is he isn't finished bending them. He has barely begun. 88 goals in 100 games. The phrase sounds unreal, like a glitch in the system, and yet the numbers are there, written in black and white. They said he was just a finisher. They said the Bundesliga made him look better than he was. They said the Premier League would humble him. Instead, he humbled the Premier League. And still, the story isn't complete. The next 100 games could decide everything, from Shearer's all-time record to how this era of English football is remembered. So, what do you think? Has Erling Haaland already broken the Premier League beyond repair? Or is this only the beginning? If you want more stories like this one, make sure you subscribe. We're only getting started.